Hi, welcome to ToddFun.com. Not sure how much fun this is going to be for everyone else, but this is Todd Fun, and then this will be fun for me, so I'm going to share. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a video camera gantry for my garage. I'm always tripping over my tripod, and I'm moving it from back there to over to my bench, and then even when I have it at my bench, I'm snuggled up to it, and if I move wrong, I kick the camera. And I'm thinking, well, I know I've seen Hack-A-Week create kind of a PVC kind of a boom mechanism for his camera. I want something a little more solid than that and more adjustable. So I realized I'm in a garage, and what do I have in my, there's a 3-car garage, and I don't ever open the garage door over here. I have an overhead railing for my garage door. So let's take a look at what my plan is. So we're going handheld. There's the bench. We'll swing around, and there's the garage door, second garage door. And over here is where I usually set up my camera on a little tripod on my welding bench. And like I say, I got to move that around all the time. But I have overhead garage door rails, and I have a big long tubing up here that I could create some sliding mechanism for and make my own camera gantry. And the plan then would be that that pipe would slide back and forth along that railing, and the garage door is pretty much always closed, as you can tell, and then I can hang my camera from that, and no more tripod. That's the plan. Essentially, the camera will go roughly upside down, and I'll make a bracket to hold those feet. It'll be somewhat adjustable by the feet, and of course then the whole tilt pan mechanism will be upside down, but then I'll make a bracket to hold the camera right side up. I don't want to go into a lot of detail because I'm going to show you as I build it. But I did get some hardware, and so I got some of these nylon. I got 4 of these nylon wheels for to basically weld into making the crane mechanism, if you will. And then these little guys are going to basically, I'll get them so that they make a bracket that makes like of a track that runs back and forth, and that will give me forward and back with the whole rail. And then this, I'll make a bunch of these little wheels together in a race cart little thing, a little cart that will go back and forth. And then of course the camera will go up and down and do all of its own normal mechanisms. So let's get to building. Okay, we got holes drilled in these little legs that we got going, and we got these for reinforcement. We got some mild steel here with holes drilled to the same exact amount, and then we got washers, or sorry, nuts. I'm not going to use washers because this plate's pretty flat here, and it's going to these lock washers will grab into that real tight. Then the concept is these will go in for reinforcement. This little piece of strap steel will go on the back, and then this bolt will go down in there, and I'll just trim off the excess off the bolt, and then I'll do all 3, and then I can weld to these tabs. So we've got one done, double tubed, lock washers, and that is now something that's nice and tight, can be welded to my base. I got to do 2 more with the other 2 legs, and of course it will be adjustable by these for how far down I want the mechanism to come, which isn't really going to be a lot. But okay, finish that up and on to the next part. This has to go freely up and down, and if I don't tack them in the right spot, then there could be pinching, and then that wouldn't work. Okay, we got to make something to mount our camera on here, but it's got to come over and make a straight L. Here's the nut down there with a little hole drilled for that so it doesn't spin, and that's bolted on good. And this is my first vlogging camera, just a Sony, or actually a Kodak camera in video mode. That's what my old videos were on. And I've decided that mounting hole, which is going to have to I'm going to have to bend this up at 90 degrees and mount it like this. If this can fit, then my current blogging camera, which is a Sony HDR CX160 Handycam, it'll definitely fit because it's smaller than this. Even as well, not it's long, but it's this distance from here to here is shorter, and it still gives me room to hook up power cables and stuff like that if I don't want to run on batteries. So that's next. So this bracket's ready. Even cut a little place so I can change this little lock for my battery position. Got that screw ready. This is going to be the set screw that's going to go essentially in the bottom and bolt the camera on. The point of that nut there is to set the depth. So if I tested both the cameras and that's the right depth to screw in, so I have to weld that nut as a depth gauge, and then I want something more substantial for turning. So I'm going to cut most of this foot off of this, essentially this refrigerator leg I saved. I'll chop that off and then I'll weld this on as a handle, and that will be how I can quickly change out my cameras. It's not the cutest contraption you've ever seen in your life, but this will screw up in the bottom and hold the different cameras on. If I'm ever in a camera store, I'll probably just buy a nice looking one. But until then, that hack will do just fine. I love having a welder. And that screw holds it from the bottom, and of course my actual camera will be bigger than that. But it'll fit either one, and several others I'm sure. This bar is going to be the overhead bar for the Gantry, camera Gantry. It's just a long section of this mild steel tubular stock that I had laying around. And that does reach across the entire garage door tracks. These center here is what I'm going to weld up for the cart. The cart is going to have 6 wheels on it, and there'll be 4 that go along the side to keep everything square in the center, here and here. And there's going to be 2 on the top. They're just these cheap little rollers, and they'll keep it rolling across the top. And I will weld up a top and 2 sides so that this just lays on top of the gantry bar here, rail, and then just rolls on it, and then the camera mechanism will simply bolt to the bottom when you want the camera bolted on. To make this welding simpler, I'm going to start off with some strap steels, and I'm just going to make nice square little straight line roller mechanisms with the strap steel. So I'll weld it to the strap steel first, and then once I get these 3 done, then I'll weld these strap steel to some larger stock, larger than this even, to make the top and sides. That way the bolting it together, or basically the clamping it together and the welding is easier. I don't have to fuss with all these separately. I'll have them already on these straps. And I'm actually not even going to fuss much with the big stock, because once I get it to where I want it, I'm just going to use my plasma torch to cut the shape. Okay, now I need to make a bit of an upside down box for this. I'm converted over to do my plasma torch now, which is that down there. It's a Harbor Freight El Cheapo. In fact, I got it as a returned box item for like 400 bucks one day. But it does the job once you change the cord on it and do a couple other things to it. This is my welding cart, which does all the conversions. You saw me Mig Welding. Now you're going to see me doing plasma, and it also does oxygen acetylene on the brick. And if you want to see how I built this convertible cart, go to that item. I got that on toddfun.com, or you'll find it in one of my postings underneath all postings, or you can find it on YouTube. And that red box with the tin is the firebox, which captures all the sparks when I do my plasma cutting, so I can do this in my garage and not worry too much about starting my garage on fire. Okay, time to flip it back to MIG welding. There we go, we're ready to start MIG welding. Okay, I'm really not worried about where I put this or how straight it is, because this is the top. I'm going to tack weld it down real good. And then I'm not even going to fuss much with these. I'm just going to make sure that these get on nice and square along this bottom edge here on both sides, and then I'm going to make sure this is square with this. And then anything I don't want, I'm just going to chop off with the plasma torch. The important part is that it's square with that tube, that rail that's going to ride. I have everything jigged up now. I'll just zoom in a little bit. Then everything's clamped where I want it now, and nice and square with the magnets and the clamps. I'll tack a few bits here and there, and then I'll take the clamps off and finish the welding. That's a pretty good tack job. There. That'll be just right, I think. Okay, I got some angle brackets, which will be the bottom where the camera will mount, the camera tripod will mount to, upside down, of course. I punched some holes in this so that I could push these bolts through. These will get welded on the inside so that they can't move, and then these will be sticking up essentially as studs so that I can mount and remove the camera tripod. This will be the base plate for the camera tripod. and I'll use the plasma torch to cut out these little loops on the sides, and that's where those studs will go, and that way I can adjust how tight, by squeezing, how tight it squeezes on the rail. There. Now I got studs welded on the inside, studs with wing nuts on the outside. Okay, this is going to be the base, or essentially the bottom where the tripod is going to mount to, and but I have to cut those hoops out, so we got to convert this bench back to plasma cutting. Now I kind of want this thing squared, so I'll just chop off these little dog ears on either side, just to make this square. I'm finishing off the welding that holds the base plate on. I cut my weld. I see I gotta weld the tripod to the Gantry crane cart, and it's the way I designed it. I can weld it on at the very end without fussing with anything else except for the one weld job. This is going to be the rail at the top, and that's going to be kind of a sled component on the end here. So I'm just mocking this up a little bit with some rollers, some garage door rollers. I want to make sure that this is square with this, essentially with this front as much as possible. I got this first roller jigged up nice and square with this piece of steel, and I have to do this 4 times because there's 4 rollers, and I'm going to be careful not to overheat that roller. I'll only film the one though. Bring them up a little bit just to show you. There, that's just tacked on. Roller's still good. I'll be putting another one on this side for the basically so it'll be a cart for the garage door track. Yeah, I got a roller in for both sides. Okay, this first side, this trolley track can be welded directly to the rail, to the overhead, because it's going to be fixed permanently. And then I won't weld the other side until I clamp it all up in the actual garage track, so I know I got the right exact width clamped in. I have that real square right there now, and it rolls in the track nice with that little clamp. I don't want to lose that exact position, so I'm going to tack weld it right in place, and then I'll bring it back down. A little bit of a shield, but I get stuff on my tech bench. Yeah, that'll hold it in place when I take it down and weld it up. Plastic clamp, garage sale, 50 cents, gone. I should use my metal clamps instead of the plastic one. Okay. As far as an overhead gantry, it's pretty smooth if you push right in the middle, but you can't push on the ends, of course. There's nothing to keep it square. If you push on the ends, it's going to be crooked. First whack at putting up the cart. Well, the cart seems kind of happy. Let's put on a tripod. Loose. Pretty chunky. Well, isn't that slick? That slides back and forth on that rail just fine from the 2 sides of my garage. I've got the camera down. I got my old blogging camera set up right now. And if I had to sit at my bench and do something, all I do is push it up. bench, shoot my videos here, and if I want it out of my way, I don't have it under my feet or my legs or anything, I can actually push the whole thing out of my way. If I want it completely gone, I don't have to move my tripod or nothing. And then when it's time to shoot the closing video, or maybe even some welding or whatever I might be doing, then I just move it on over to where I set up the closing video. So I push it this way. Right about there would be closing. Spin it around. Probably keep it higher. There, that's about where a closing video would be. Most of the time we'll probably keep the legs this length because this neck goes down quite a ways. I mean, I can bring this neck down a long ways for shooting stuff over at the bench. Well, let's shoot the closing video in the final position. Oh, there, camera gantry. No more tripod legs in my way. I know they sell things that are like roll around that could do something like this, kind of stay out of the way. You have a big arm that comes in with the camera, but you know, this whole thing cost me about 30 bucks. The rest of the parts I already own. So really, I wanted to do this not for $300 or $600 or even $200. I wanted to do it for $20. I managed to do it for about $30 in parts, mostly just those rollers. I think if I did it again, I would do rollers that could be removed during the welding process. I won't have to fuss about keeping things cool. I did manage to keep the rollers in good condition. But it was a fuss. I really didn't need that fuss. So this is it, just camera gantry. You have to let me know what you guys think of the video that comes from this. It may be a little shaky. I might have to, you know, let the camera not, because it's not as solid as a tripod, of course. But that just means I just have to, you know, don't start shooting until the camera stops. And I do have a remote control for this, so I can definitely manage it. Let's shoot at the counter over here. Let's shoot at the bench and see what that looks like, and then that wraps it up. Let's see. It's a pretty good view from up here too. And then I could still zoom in if I wanted to. I could zoom in on something and zoom out pretty easy. Yeah. Flip out. You can probably even talk to the camera from this angle. Sorry for the tank top. Been welding. It's hot out here. Yeah, this would work. I could talk to the camera too once in a while if I wanted to, and then come right back into the bench. Zoom in on something. I can see it real easy from the camera angle here. What I'm doing, I can see at the camera just fine. Not sure I like this side. I can't see the camera. The camera's on the wrong side. Well, that won't be bad. I can put marks on the track where I consider home for the closing credits here, or closing statements, and then pretty much anywhere else I want to put it. So I'm going to give it about a 80%. It is a decent enough build for 30 bucks. I think it's going to work out fine. And I think if I wanted to make it better, I'd use 2 rails instead of 1, so that it stays, you know, not that I couldn't change it in the future, I could. Use 2 rails instead of 1, so you don't get any twisting or swinging, and then use better rollers. And who knows, you know, if I like it a lot and I want it to be tighter and smoother, maybe I'll do that. Thanks for joining.